So before you get stuck into the course, I just want to explain what my user preferences are throughout the whole entire course. This is mainly so that when you watch the tutorials and you see the screencast keys come up on the corner and you push the same button that I do and it does something different, this is the reason why. So these are just recommendations and these are the settings that I'm using. I'm not telling you to use these exact settings, but these are my preferences. You can use your preferences, but in this video, I just explain what I change that isn't default from Blender out of the box. Now, obviously, I'll be using Blender 4.2 for the entirety of this fundamentals course. And like all Blender versions, you can find the user preferences up here in the edit menu under Edit User Preferences. I find it more convenient though, just to press F4 and then you can open the preferences from there. The first recommendation I have for you is to increase the default resolution scale, even if you have young and excellent eyesight. I raise this up to 1.3 and the larger size means that I can work for longer because my eyes don't need to super focus into microscopes to read the UI text all the time. Next, let's look under the key map setting. This is the biggest change that I make, and that would be that I am using right-click select. You might think I'm crazy, but this is a massive speed up to my workflow, especially when you're an animator, because this option separates the selection from action in the viewport, which means I can select things underneath the manipulator without slowing myself down. But this option isn't for everybody. I also set the spacebar to activate the tools, but really the spacebar isn't going to affect anything when we're rigging. I do enable the select all toggles, and this means when I press A, I can select and then press A again to deselect. That's just my preference. And same here with the gizmos. When I press the tilde key, I'm going to bring up my gizmos rather than the navigation tools. I have a numpad on my keyboard, so using that for the tilde is kind of like a wasted hotkey. But I would strongly recommend that you enable this tab for pie menu if you are anybody except a modeler. When we're rigging, we need to jump into a bunch of different modes, and this option will swap Control Tab to bring up the pie menu with just Tab. And this is going to make it much faster because you don't need to do backflips with your left hand every time you want to jump into weight painting. For this course, there's only one add-on that we're going to be using, and this is called Bone Widget, which is free and maintained by myself. The current version at the time of this recording will be included with the downloads, but I'll go into more detail about that later on. And one more setting I want to tell you about now is the lock object modes here in the edit menu. When you disable this, it's going to let you select different objects that are in different modes. And this is something that we need to do quite a lot when we're rigging. So we do want to disable this. However, this isn't a user preference. This is actually a setting that is attached to each individual file. So it's something that you have to disable all the time. So to reduce the amount of times you will need to disable it, you can save that to your startup file just by unchecking this and then going to File, Defaults, Save Startup File, and then overwrite that. This means that every new file that you create from scratch will have this setting disabled. But if you open someone else's file that has this checked, it's not going to make a difference. But something is better than nothing, right? And that's pretty much it. These are the user preferences that I've changed for the recording of this course. When it comes to explaining the tools and whatnot, I will also point out when my buttons are different to the default settings, but I can't do that every time in the course. But if you forget or you need a refresher because something is working differently on your machine, you can check this video out again or just ask. Don't be afraid to ask a question on any of the video lessons, in the forum, or even on the Discord channel. There's lots of people here to help you. Okay, so that's enough about user preferences. Let's get stuck into learning this thing called rigging.